Summary of the Pillow Book by Sei Shonagon. Sei Shonagon, a lady who lived in Japan around the 990s CE and served in the imperial court of Empress Tishur, keep a diary with her. Short narratives, personal musings, and numerous lists of observations and events that Sei considers lovely or interesting are all included in this pillow book that Sei has created. These parts are only loosely linked to each other and are not put together in order of when they happened. Sei loves talking about the traditions of Empress Taishi's court all year long, like the parades and games held for the new year and the fancy clothes that people wore to different court events. Some of her favorite memories are of exciting events like the Kamo High Priestess's procession and a sutra ceremony where Her Majesty was so beautiful that she invited the young Sei to watch from the royal seating area. She also talks about pilgrimages to shrines, which are trips that are both sacred and interesting to see. A lot of what Sei writes about royal life is about poetry, which was very important to Empress Taishi's court. For instance, Tishur once tells her women to write down any old song they can remember so she can find out what's most important to them. At another time, she reads the beginnings of several poems from the Kokinshu, a collection of old poems, and asks the women to give her the last words of each one. These games are not only a way to pass the time in the private court, but also a way to show how smart you are, especially for the quick-witted Sei, and stand out in front of the Empress. Sometimes these kinds of games had a romantic twist, like when the famous poet Sanakata sends a flirty poem to a young lady and the lady is too shy to reply with her own poem because that's what people expect of her. Sei also tells stories about conversations he had with friends, mostly male courtiers like Yukinari or Tadanobu, in which they joked around and wrote poems. Sei sometimes plays down her poetry skills so she doesn't look too girly. For example, she hides the fact that she knows Chinese, which was once thought of as a man's language. However, she usually does well in these friendly tests of skill, at least in the stories she chooses to write down, and the Empress also loves Sei's good name. The lives of the male and female courtiers are usually kept separate, but Sei talks about hidden affairs enough times to make it sound like they were common, without giving any names. A lot of Sei's records are also about court clothes, like the rich green robes of a chamberlain, which were used to tell the different ranks of courtiers apart. When Sei makes lists, she often adds places or things in the landscape, like mountains, pools, and rivers. She is interested in these things because the names of the places make her think of poetry or because of the stories that go along with them. In poetry, a certain tree is sometimes linked to a certain bird, like the orange tree and the hototajisu, which is a very beloved bird in the poetic tradition. Other lists talk about dispiriting things, like not getting a poem from someone you care about, or things that make your heart beat fast, like seeing a sparrow with her babies or putting on clothes that smell like incense. Sei really likes how the moonlight or weather can change the mood of a romantic meeting or how the seasons can show how beautiful and sad life can be. Sei can never be insensible to anything that fascinated her in all of these areas. But sometimes, especially when writing about commoners, who are seen as ruining beautiful scenes, or men, who Sei thinks are usually not sensitive, her lists sound like she doesn't care about them. Sei also writes short, very detailed scenes, like a story about the morning after a lover's secret visit, as if she were a lady telling a story for fun or with the intention of turning them into longer stories. Sei only makes vague references to historical events, like the death of the regent, which made Tishur lose favor and be kicked out of the palace, and Sei's short separation from the royal family because she was said to be linked to a plotter. Once Sei talks about a wonderful holiday she had with the imperial family, she only mentions her heavy heart. This is because she is remembering the event after Taishi's untimely death. Finally, the pillow book gives a possible reason for where the book came from. The courtier Korechika gave Empress Tishur a bundle of paper as a gift, and the Empress then gave it to Sei. Sei starts writing in the book about things that make her happy or impressed. She says she never meant for other people to see it. Governor Tsunafusa sees the book at Sei's house and takes it with him, even though she tells him not to. Finally, Sei comes to the conclusion that appears to have been the moment when this book was first known.
About the author. During the Heian period in Japan, Sei Shonagon was a real-life character. She was the daughter of Kaiohara no Motosuke, who was a famous poet and ruler of a province. Beyond the events she writes about in the Pillow Book, not much is known about Sei's life. It's not even clear what her real name is. Sei is a form of her family name, Kaiohara, and Shonagon could mean the rank of a husband or other relative. She probably married a courtier called Tachibana Norimitsu when she was still in her teens. They may have had a son together, but the marriage didn't last long. In the year 993 CE, Sei went to Empress Taishi's court in Kyoto, which was the capital of the empire. At the time, she was in her late 20s and about 10 years older than the empress and most of the other ladies who worked for her in court. It's likely that Sei kept working in the court until Empress Taisha died in the year 1000 CE. After that, no one knows for sure what happened to Sei.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.